Evening all. Yes, tonight we're going to be talking about Justin Trudeau. Like pretty bubbles. Yes, Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, and number 2 on my list of 10 figures on the progressive left who define it. Well, there are 2 prevailing thoughts about Justin Trudeau. One is that he's a terribly nice, good-looking young man, the kind of leader we need in the world today, bringing forward an age of equality and diversity and caring and sharing. Or you think he's a vapid non-entity, mouthing off a series of pseudo-intellectual left-wing nonsense and platitudes, and he's purely trading off his good looks and his family history. Well, no surprise at guessing which one I side with. So, Justin Trudeau represents to me a strange choice for the left to elevate him as a figurehead. Because on the one hand, you would think that the left would find somebody who came from a deprived background and who had struggled against the odds and had risen to a position of prominence based on their experiences. But no, they've seemed to elevate somebody half on their looks, which when you consider the kind of anti-body beautiful messages that we keep hearing from the left, you would find it odd that they would find a poster boy who is pretty. And then the other thing is that it's dynastical, that he is somehow the inheritor of his father's legacy. You see this kind of mirrored south of the border in America, where the left seem to have this thing about the Clintons. You know, we got Bill, we should have had Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton is the great hope. Why should Chelsea Clinton be a great hope for the Democrat Party, other than the fact that she's connected to Bill and Hillary? Well, what are her special characteristics that would make her good for elected office? Who knows? But Trudeau represents that. Purple grape juice, lovely. So, that's the problem I have right off the bat with Trudeau, is that it seems his path to being Prime Minister is largely unearned. It's off the back of other things that just, other people have to work hard for, hard to achieve, hard to attain. And Trudeau seems to have coasted to them. And once he's in office, he becomes extremely vapid, as I said. His catchphrase is diversity is our strength. But what does he mean by diversity? Well, he generally means it to be the immutable characteristics of human beings, like skin color, race, gender, the things that we can't really change that easily. Certainly not race. Not with suffering consequences, as some people who try to change their race under false pretenses can testify to. So he talks about diversity purely in these physical characteristics, but less so when it comes to diversity of thought. If diversity is to be a strength, particularly in something like Canadian society, it has to be diversity of opinion and thought, where people can have wildly opposing viewpoints on a number of subjects and yet come together as Canadians and be able to express their thoughts in a peaceful, law-abiding society, and that would make society stronger. The fact that over here are some whites, over here are some blacks, over here are some Asians, and they all live in Canada is not necessarily a strength in itself, unless people are coming together as a community to build up the nation that is Canada. And this is not what he talks about. In fact, he goes the opposite. He starts talking about maybe it's time to somehow dismantle Canada as a physical entity. He's said some bizarre things along that lines. He's had meetings with Soros. He's most likely a Soros puppet, and Soros hates borders. He just wants one world with him in his little gate. Now, there's one border that George Soros would like, and that is the gate around his personal estate to keep all the plebs out. But other than that, free movement everywhere. And Trudeau toes this line, speaks this line. So diversity is actually his hypocrisy, because as we have seen in Canada, the one thing you can't do in Canada is criticize his kind of progressive orthodoxy, which we saw manifested itself in Bill C-16. And then there's other things. He just comports himself in the most cringeworthy, embarrassing manner. His trip to India, where he and his family adopted Indian dress, and it was cringeworthy and embarrassing. Normally, anybody else would do that. It'd be called cultural appropriation. But it just goes to show you just how much privilege points and I don't know, free passes he stacks up with the left, that he can get away with that. Well, not necessarily to the Indians, who found it cringeworthy and sent him away packing without a deal, incidentally. But famously, that was that moment that encapsulates the man perfectly, in my opinion, was when he's giving a talk to all these, I believe that were students. There was certainly a group of young people. And one young woman gets up and starts trying to make a point, and she says the word mankind. And Trudeau immediately hauls her up, doesn't let her finish the sentence. Note that he didn't let her finish her sentence, let her make her point. And he said, we prefer to use the word people kind. He did that little giggle afterwards, self-congratulatory giggle. As if this is him being sort of caring and sharing and thinking it's not about mankind, it's about people kind. Well, mankind and people kind is not even really a proper word, but mankind and humanity is synonymous. It's not mankind and women are a second place in that phrase, that word. It's not. Man is just a generic term to represent the word humanity. I mean, he could have said, we prefer to use the word humankind, or we prefer to use the word humanity. He would have got away with it, and people wouldn't have laughed at him. Because here's the stupid thing about that. Not only does he come up with a stupid word when three others were perfectly decent, but that he didn't listen to that woman's point, and he cut her off, and he didn't let her finish, and people were just giving a round of applause and had moved on. He laughed at himself. And it wasn't laughing at himself in a kind of self-deprecating way. He laughed at himself. Oh, what a good boy I am. It was a moment of virtue signaling. And in all that, we will never know what that young woman was going to finish saying. It was something about motherhood. But we won't know, because he cut her off. And again, he has so many free passes with his own political tribe that nobody said, hang on, Trudeau. What was that girl trying to say? Hey, why didn't you let her finish? And that encapsulates the man. He's so hung up on a word that he can only hear the two syllables of that word, and it registers a cognitive dissonance in his mind. Mankind, no, it can't be man, just not man on exclusively. It's got to be people, kind, yeah. And he's so. This is a problem of people on the progressive left, is that they're so hung up on words they've forgotten meaning. And so you look at a word like mankind and think that's a problem because it contains man at the beginning, and not understanding what that word actually means. It means something far bigger. It has more symbolical reference than just man. But he epitomizes that kind of cognitive dissonance in the left, where they can only hear words, they can only hear the structure, understand the structure of the word, but they don't understand the context and meaning of it. And this in turn, this whole kind of I'm caring, I'm sharing, is full of crap, because he then goes into a mosque and he says, I'm a feminist prime minister. And yet what happens, he goes into mosque, and the mosque says that no, none of your female members of staff can go into this place to hear your speech. You're giving a speech to the imams and the local Islamic community, but you women have got to wait outside. And he just readily accepts that. So where's his feminism there? It's hypocrisy. If he was a man of conviction, he would have said, no, actually, this is not how we do things. I cannot leave leave women behind and make them second-class citizens because I'm a feminist prime minister. If you want me to give this speech to you, we're going to have to either change the laws of your mosque or we're going to have to meet somewhere else. And I deliver the speech there. But he doesn't. He just gives in to whichever diversity group he happens to be talking to. Another thing that Trudeau has done is he has empowered some very dangerous people in Canadian campus life, and we've seen this. We saw this at Wilfrid Laurier University, and the insidiousness that is Bill C-16, which compels people's speech. That if you don't use somebody's preferred pronouns, you can be prosecuted, and this has led to all kinds of abuses. So, most notably, two Canadian academics called Nathan Ravikant and Herbert Pimblott. Why am I telling you this? You know the whole story. But yes, what was important about that was that they lied to Lindsay Shepherd about how much trouble she would be in if she showed this clip from a Canadian TV show where they're having a debate over Bill C-16. They said they could go after her legally for even showing that clip, which was nonsense. But this is the cult of Trudeau and the perniciousness of Bill C-16, that people can lie about it in order to suit their agenda, in order to silence people and to go after people. And the ludicrous specimen that is Ronaldo Walcott, sort of not even wanting to give Lindsay Shepherd her name. He just kept calling her Elle Shepherd and started accusing her of being a figurehead in the alt-right or the far right or the white supremacy movement. See, lies, and this all Justin Trudeau is empowering these liars through his stupid policies and his mantras, and he's too thick to sort of put a stop to it and saying, no, that's not what I meant for this to be. If we can't have, I want civility, but I can't have it at the expense of all these lies being spread and people being persecuted. But he doesn't think about that. But if there's one ray of hope in the Justin Trudeau story, was that something he inadvertently did, something that he inadvertently unleashed. Because if he hadn't pushed through Bill C-16, if he hadn't empowered all these left-wing academics to go around harassing people and trying to hound them out of their jobs and off-campus life, then we wouldn't have had Jordan Peterson. So in a kind of way, the idiot did us a favour. And on that note, cheers. Renash.